Before the world wakes, there is a moment that belongs to you alone, a moment of stillness, clarity, and choice. In this quiet, you face the truth. The prison holding you back was built by your own hands. Every fear, every doubt, every "I can't" has been a brick in that wall. And because you built it, only you can tear it down. Rise early. See the walls you created. See yourself breaking free. Visualize the life you are meant to live. A life of purpose, freedom, and impact. Know that awareness alone is not enough. Action is the key. Every small step, every deliberate choice, every courageous decision is a strike against the limitations that have held you captive. Your prison was never stronger than your will to break it. Every person carries a prison that is not made of iron or stone, but of thoughts, beliefs, and fears. It is invisible, yet it holds more power over your life than any physical barrier could. This prison is constructed slowly, brick by brick, through years of doubt, hesitation, and self-imposed limits. Every time you say, "I can't," every time you let fear dictate your actions, every time you settle for less than what you were created to achieve, you are placing another brick in your own confinement. It may not look real to anyone else, but to you, it shapes your world, your choices, and the trajectory of your life. And yet this prison is different from any other, because unlike chains forged by someone else, this one you built yourself. It was built in moments when you allowed negativity to have the final word. It was built when you believed that circumstances, mistakes, or the opinions of others were stronger than your own potential. This prison is familiar, it is comfortable in its familiarity, and because of that, many people live their whole lives inside it, thinking that this confinement is their reality. They forget that they are designed for freedom, for purpose, for impact, for influence, for a life that rises above the ordinary. And the first step in breaking free is acknowledging the prison exists, admitting to yourself that you have been the architect of your own limitations, and realizing that only you hold the power to dismantle it. It begins with awareness, with seeing the chains for what they really are, and with understanding that the very thoughts and beliefs that built the prison are also the tools you can use to break it down. You alone hold the key to your freedom. No one else can do it for you. Teachers, mentors, or friends can guide you, inspire you, or encourage you, but they cannot step inside your mind and remove the doubts that paralyze you. They cannot speak courage into your heart if you refuse to open your ears. Freedom, liberation, and breakthroughs are personal journeys that require personal responsibility. The moment you understand this, the moment you accept that your life is your responsibility and that your destiny is in your hands, is the moment true power begins to awaken within you. The key to breaking the prison is a decision, a declaration of independence from the limits you have allowed to define you. It is a choice to rise above fear, to refuse to be ruled by regret, to reject the lies that say you are not enough. You cannot wait for conditions to be perfect, for someone else to hand you permission, or for circumstances to change. The key is found in action. Deliberate, consistent, courageous action that defies the small, confining thoughts in your mind. When you decide to take ownership of your life, when you decide that no brick, no fear, no failure, no voice of doubt will have power over your potential, you hold the key. It may feel heavy at first, because freedom always requires responsibility, and responsibility demands courage. But once you take hold, the walls that once seemed unbreakable begin to tremble. Every step you take toward vision, every choice to speak life instead of doubt, every moment you refuse to retreat in fear is a strike against the prison you built. And the beauty of this truth is that the key was never outside of you. It was always within, waiting for you to claim it, to recognize that your power is far greater than the limitations you have accepted, that your capacity for breakthrough is far larger than the obstacles you face, and that your life is meant to be lived beyond the walls of fear and self-doubt. Mornings are sacred moments, reserved not for the demands of the world, but for the renewal of your mind, spirit, and purpose. Before the sun rises, before the noise begins, you are given a rare gift, a blank page, a space of clarity, a moment to define the trajectory of your day and ultimately your life. How you begin the morning sets the tone for every decision, every action, and every thought that will follow. It is in these quiet hours that your soul is most receptive, that your vision can take root, and that your spirit can speak truths that are drowned out when the world awakens. Yet most people waste this time rushing into obligations, responding to distractions, and allowing the external world to dictate their mindset. They miss the power of the morning, the sacred opportunity to reclaim themselves, to plan with purpose, and to align their thoughts with the life they were designed to live. But you have the choice to rise earlier, to embrace stillness, and to speak life into your own destiny. In this quiet space, you can examine the prison you have built and begin to dismantle it. The morning is not simply the start of a day. It is the battlefield of your mind, the laboratory of your dreams, and the proving ground for your future. Every thought you plant in the morning grows into action, and every action determines the freedom, success, and influence you will experience. This sacred time belongs to you alone, and it is in this moment that the chains of fear, doubt, and limitation can be confronted and shattered. Vision precedes action, and it is in the early hours that vision takes root most clearly. Before the world imposes its distractions, before the flood of tasks and responsibilities begins, you have the opportunity to see yourself as you were created to be, to see your life not as a series of obstacles, but as a canvas of possibilities waiting for you to step into. Your mind is the first battlefield of freedom, and without a clear vision, action becomes scattered, inconsistent, and ineffective. When you take the time to define what your breakthrough looks like, to see the walls of your prison crumbling in your mind before they do in reality, you prepare yourself to move with purpose. Vision is not a luxury, it is the foundation of transformation. It is the lens through which you perceive your potential, the blueprint that guides your steps, and the map that keeps you moving forward even when fear and doubt try to slow you down. But vision without action is incomplete. Seeing the freedom is the first step, but walking into it requires courage, consistency, and commitment. The morning is where you align vision with action. It is where you remind yourself that you are not defined by the limitations of yesterday, the mistakes of the past, or the doubts that have whispered in your ear. It is where you take control of the narrative of your life, where you declare that no external condition or internal fear will dictate the outcome of your purpose. Every small action taken in the morning, every moment dedicated to clarity, reflection, and planning is a hammer against the walls of the prison you have built. By rising early, by claiming your sacred time, you send a signal to your mind and your spirit that you are committed to freedom, to growth, and to the life you were created to live. The world may still be asleep, but you have already begun. You have already taken the first steps toward dismantling limitations, toward creating a life of influence, impact, and purpose. And in these early hours, when your mind is clear and your spirit is alert, you discover that the power to live beyond the walls of fear, doubt, and uncertainty was within you all along, waiting for the moment you would choose to see it, claim it, and walk into it. Breaking your prison requires action, not just awareness or vision. Awareness tells you where the walls are, and vision shows you what freedom looks like. But it is action that dismantles every brick, one strike at a time. Action begins with small, intentional steps. It does not require perfection. It does not wait for confidence to arrive, and it does not pause for circumstances to be ideal. Every decision to rise above fear, every choice to refuse the voice of doubt, and every step taken toward your purpose is a hammer against the limitations that have confined you. Action is not always dramatic. Often it is quiet, consistent, and persistent. The person who breaks free is the one who refuses to allow delay, hesitation, or uncertainty to dictate their pace. They understand that freedom is not a gift given by circumstances, it is claimed by consistent, deliberate effort. Every time you choose to act despite fear, every time you push beyond the comfort of the familiar, every time you speak life into your vision, rather than retreating into doubt, you chip away at the walls of your self-made prison. Action transforms potential into reality. And the journey from limitation to liberation is measured not by plans alone, but by the steps you take to execute them. Courage is not absence of fear, but action in the presence of it. And every brick you dismantle through purposeful action brings you closer to the life you were created to live, a life of freedom, purpose, and impact. Freedom is not merely the absence of chains. It is the presence of responsibility, intentionality, and conscious choice. It is the realization that your life is not something that happens to you, but something you create. To claim freedom, you must take ownership of your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions. You must refuse to allow excuses, limitations, or past failures to define the trajectory of your life. Every morning, before the world dictates your priorities, you have the power to decide how you will think, how you will act, and what you will pursue. Freedom requires discipline because it is easy to drift back into the patterns that built the prison in the first place. It requires awareness because it is easy to forget that the walls are self-imposed. It requires courage because the world will always resist your growth, sometimes through external pressures, often through the internal whispers of fear. And yet, freedom is not passive, it is active. It is claimed through daily, deliberate decisions to align your actions with your purpose, to rise above mediocrity, to refuse the constraints of doubt, and to step boldly into the life you were designed to live. Responsibility is not a burden, it is the very key that unlocks the door to your liberation. The moment you accept that your life is your creation, that your choices shape your reality, and that your potential is far greater than your limitations, the walls of the prison begin to crumble. Every act of ownership, every refusal to settle, every intentional choice to live courageously strikes against the chains of fear, doubt, and complacency. When vision meets action and responsibility meets courage, transformation occurs. The prison that once seemed permanent begins to dissolve because it was never stronger than your will to break free. You were designed for impact, for influence, for greatness, and for freedom. Every brick of limitation can be removed by your awareness. Every wall of fear can be torn down by your courage. And every chain of doubt can be broken by your persistent, intentional action. The journey to freedom is not a single moment, but a daily commitment to rise, see, act, and own your life. It is through this relentless pursuit that your potential is unlocked, your purpose is realized, and the life you are meant to live finally emerges from behind the walls you once allowed to contain you. In this process, you discover that the prison was never about punishment or failure. It was a teacher, a mirror, and a challenge to awaken the courage, vision, and discipline that had been waiting for you all along. Claim your mornings. Claim your power. Align your vision with action. Take responsibility for your thoughts, your choices, and your life. Each day, as you rise before the noise begins, you chip away at fear, doubt, and hesitation, moving closer to the destiny that has always been yours. Transformation comes when vision, action, and responsibility meet. The freedom you seek is not outside, it has always been within you. Rise, break free, live fully,